This is highly anticipated for anyone who's followed Jack Ma and Ant. This is the crown jewel, of course, out of his assets. So what do we know about this debut?
Well, it's going to be big. That's what I can say, because people familiar are saying that they could be aiming for an IPO of about $30 billion US. The Saudi Aramco IPO was $29 billion, a record at the time. So this could be a record listing. And the numbers are quite staggering. If you look at Alipay and other revenue-generating services from Ant Financial, this is a company that had $17 trillion in transactions in the year through June. It's 118 trillion yuan. And in its filing says it will issue no less than 10% in new shares of its total capital. This is a firm that generated $10.5 billion in revenue in the first half of this year and a profit of 21.2 billion yuan. As you said, it is the crown jewel of Alibaba. Alibaba owns 33% as the largest stakeholder. Now, as far as breaking it out with Alipay, the app has more than 1 billion users, 711 million active monthly users in the first 12 months through June. Or in the 12 months through June, more than 80 million merchants, of course, mostly in China, use Alipay. But its digital payments business, as it hits saturation, is starting to lose a little steam, but then being taken up by some of this revenue from technology services fees. And that's what you're going to start seeing, more of an evolution that way as the actual transaction volume sort of is saturated. Proceeds, they say, will be used to expand cross-border payments. But that potentially is, of course, another bugaboo for Alibaba's overall empire as it's starting to shrink its footprint a little bit in the United States because of the U.S.-China tensions.
Yeah, given all of that, really not surprising that Ant decided against listing in the United States, despite the fact that his largest shareholder, Alibaba, is actually listed in New York.
Yep, Alibaba, of course, is listed in New York. It also has that secondary listing last year, $13 billion US here in Hong Kong. But of course, Chinese companies listed in the United States under increased scrutiny by the Trump administration. We had that State Department letter out to university endowments urging them to perhaps divest their holdings because these companies are going to come under increased scrutiny, possible restating of financials, possible delistings for some companies which are found to be fraudulent. Again, it's just more speculation that the Trump administration will come down hard on Chinese-listed companies in the United States. But again, the big winner here is Hong Kong, the Shanghai market, and of course the U.S. banks that are going to be handling this IPO, as well as those U.S. private equity firms that invested in Ant Group.